and 7 Spanish angels took another angel home.
Hey, I'm Willie Nelson, and you're watching HempRock TV.
We don't run, and we don't compromise, we don't quit, we never do.
Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Master Sergeant Vance, the voice of freedom's voice. Welcome y'all to the show. Tonight we're going to talk about killing the goose. In 1980, Ronald Reagan took power and began the theory of trickle-down economics, which at the time was called voodoo economics. It was originally titled supply side, but everybody knew it was a ripoff. So, supply side economics, voodoo economics. Supposedly, we'll give money to rich people and they will take that money and invest it, and it will create jobs. Here we are some 40 years later, and we're still waiting on them jobs. That never happened. Those people took that money and put it in the bank until the time was right to build another factory. Think about it. If you're a factory owner and you're making widgets and you've got 50,000 widgets coming out of your factory every day, but there's no market for more, you are not going to build another factory. I don't care how much money the government gives you, you're not going to build another factory because you can't sell the widgets. Now, once the widget markets get good, then you'd build another factory. But until then, the money sits in the bank, doing nobody any good. The original plan was for the spending of the middle class, since they were going to be making all this money, right? That would drive the economy. And the rich people will get the money anyway. It's like Will Rogers said, he said, you give the money to the poor man, and a rich man will have it within 24 hours, but at least the poor man will have gotten some use out of it. And I think it's time for the American people to start getting some use out of it and stop this insane economic disaster that they call trickle-down economics. The Republicans have decided that the government is the enemy of everybody, their enemy and the enemy of the people. The government can't do anything for you except give money to corporations and rich people. Now, he attacked the government as the enemy of the people. What has transpired since then? Reagan's presidency ended in a disaster of a recession and people being indicted and stuff. Daddy Bush ended in a recession and selling stuff to the Contras. What was that? Oliver North covered for Reagan's butt. They were all involved. Baby Bush, he lied us into a war in Iraq. And Trump, total economic collapse. Headed off by Biden's and the Democrats' push for some kind of relief for the American people. Had they not pushed for that, the Republican Party would have let you suffer through the whole pandemic and the whole thing. And it goes back to what I've always said. They don't give a rat's ass about what happens to you or your family. They could care less. As long as they maintain power and wealth, that's all they care about. And they'll lie and cheat and do whatever it takes to stay in power. If we had a universal basic income, then you could guarantee the spending of the middle class and the poor. If every citizen had a grant coming in every month to fall back on in case of emergencies or crises or whatever, right? I bet you'd see a grocery store in every neighborhood in the city. You wouldn't have depressed neighborhoods because people would have the money to spend. And you can bet that, like I said another time, coffee shops and grocery stores and little mom and pop stores open up. Crime rate will go down. And all we have to do for all those wonderful things to happen, people's income to go up, crime to go down, all of it. And we only have to do one thing: end abject poverty in America for good. And a universal basic income would do that. $1,000 is just enough. It's not enough to live on, but it's enough to fall back on, to get you started, to help you get going. And even more importantly, why don't we start a small account that accrues interest for every child that's born in America? And they get that money when they turn 21. Why couldn't we do that? I mean, it'd just be sitting there gathering interest. They're getting bigger and bigger. And when they're 21, they got a chunk of change to get out of mom and dad's house and get their life started. What the hell's wrong with that? They'll be spending that money. You give money to poor people or people on the lower end, they have to spend it. They have to pay the rent. They have to buy toilet paper and food. That will drive the economy. That will make rich people richer. But somehow they don't see it. Now, all you got to do is Google people who support a universal basic income and be shocked. In '68, that was the going theme. People were talking about it. 1,200 economists. Kenneth Galbraith, the number one economist at the time, him and 1,200 other economists signed a letter calling for one. Nixon supported one. To look up the 1956 Republican platform, it reads like the Democratic platform of the day. Support the unions, support families, etc., etc. That was the 56 Republican platform. What the hell happened to the Republican Party? They've managed to kill the goose. Now the economy's, it's coming back after the pandemic. When everything settles out, it's not going to go anywhere unless we change from trickle down to trickle up. Trickle up, everybody gets wealthy. Trickle down, only the rich. We've had 40 years of only the rich. It's time for the rest of us to get a cut, a fair cut. And I think a universal basic income, $1,000 a month, just like Mr. Yang was talking about, would do it. It would reconstitute the middle class and give them spending money. And at the same time, you can raise their wages. Because if they got a grand coming in, they don't have to take your crappy wages. They won't starve. You're going to have to with the wages a little bit. Now, I seen a thing where a woman, I think she was in Belgium, said that they get $22 an hour minimum wage, and the burgers only went up 10 cents. So, all that crap about, the prices will go up, inflation, if you give poor people money, there'll be inflation. But if you give the rich CEO $24 million, that's not going to cause inflation. They are so full of bull and baloney. Now, the Republicans have killed the goose. If we don't reconstitute it, it's not going to be a fun place to live. I'll guarantee you that. We can end abject poverty in America forever. And it seems That's going to be the solution for our economic problems. Reconstituting the spending of the middle class and getting the Goose out of ICU and having her start dropping them golden eggs. Because that's what the middle class is supposed to do. And we need to get back to it. 40 years of Republican wealth ripoffs to benefit their wealthy donors. It's time that ended. I don't know what the hell happened to the Republican Party to make them such Scrooges and skinflints, but they are. Just be grateful it's only 30% of the population. Can you imagine if it was 80 or 60, rather? You know? Jesus, can you imagine what they might do then? How many people do you think they'd put in jail for not living like they want you to live? They're always working on that, too. You know? The Republican Party's thirst and lust to maintain power and to maintain the wealth coming in is hurting our country in more ways than you can shake a stick at. And the money is just one of them. You know, there just seems to be no caring for your fellow man. There seems to be no wanting for the other guy to get ahead as you get ahead. There's none of that. And I don't know why. I don't know why we've allowed these skinflints and ne'er-do-wells to destroy our economy just so they can make themselves wealthy. Time to get about fixing it. Hopefully we will. As far as the cancer, nothing's changed since episode 41. I still got to go Saturday and get the chemo and then go back for 3 different shots after I do that. Luckily, the chemo's only 2.5 hours instead of 4.5, so I can handle that a little better. But I don't know what it's going to do to me once they get it in me. We'll just have to see. Anyway, that's it for this time. Y'all take care, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, I'm Willie Nelson, and the Willie Nelson Teapot Party and I endorse Veterans for Medical Cannabis Access.
Just roll me up